Hi there. My name is Dr. Claire Kinuthia, and this is Circling the Rabbit Hole, your go-to health and wellness podcast. This is a safe space for all matters sexual, reproductive, and related mental health. Hi, guys, and welcome to our second episode. This is, again, still super exciting for me because we are trying to hold space for very delicate conversations. I'm trying to create a platform where we can have those difficult conversations and then have resources to be able to navigate them in our own personal lives. So today is the second episode in a series where we're discussing our sexual education for our kids. Today I'm having a fantastic guest. I'm very, very excited because she's a mom of boys, which is now a different take on the subject. We're going to talk about her hopes, her dreams, her desires, what she's been able to do so far, what challenges she's faced, because raising boys in 2023 has to be as challenging as it gets, and especially so for a mom. And I'm sure she has fears and concerns when it comes to some of the things that they may be faced with in the near future. And so we just start to cover this as expansively as possible. And hopefully you can also pick up some tools for yourself if you have sons that you're able to get you through the hurdle of talking about their bodies, their sexuality, their sex lives, and getting them to be healthy, productive, contributing members of society. That's my hope for this episode. So I'm just going to turn over to my beautiful guest. I mean, I think you glow every time I see you. Like you glow more, if that's even possible. It's unbelievable.
Wow, thank you.
Again, anyone who isn't watching, you should head over to YouTube because you need to see her. So I'll just allow you to introduce yourself.
Yes. First, thank you, Dr. Claire, for having me.
Absolutely.
I know this conversation didn't start 2 minutes ago. It started months ago.
Right, yes.
And I vowed and I said, whenever you're ready, I'll be happy to come on board.
And I'm so happy because you followed through.
Yes.
Because, it usually can be a casual conversation and then,
because I'm very passionate also about issues that are affecting especially our children.
True.
And we have to do better than our parents did and the ones before that.
Yeah.
So my name is Maureen Waititu.
Mm-hmm.
I wear very many hats.
Yeah.
I'm a mom of 2 lovely boys, and I'm also a lawyer, an entrepreneur, and a content creator, full-time content creator.
Yes, we see you everywhere.
Yes. Which I love.
Yeah.
And my content creation is on impact, so life-changing content about gender equality, gender empowerment, so both men and women are not left out. So I'm always having conversations around that.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah, because I literally just said maybe we are leaving out the boy child a bit too much. Maybe we're not involving our men. I hope I can convince a few to join me on a few episodes because that tends to be the challenge.
Absolutely.
But if I can, they're very welcome so that we can start to have these conversations, not just with our female counterparts. We can also involve the men a bit more.
Absolutely. Yeah. And men without women, we can do.
We can't do without
the other.
Without each other.
Yes,
True.
Yes.
So today we're actually focusing on your lovely boys.
Yes.
Could you tell us a little bit about them?
Oh, wow. Where do I start?
Look at that smile.
I know, they are my sunshine. Sometimes I wonder what life would be if they were not in my life.
Yeah.
So I have 2 boys. One is 7 and the other one just recently turned 5.
Oh, fantastic.
Very different personalities, very different in talents. In fact, sometimes I wonder, you guys, did you come from the same place? But they're very vibrant. We're very close. I'm a very, very intentional parent.
Fantastic.
So anytime I can, I do have time to sit with them and we bond. Like earlier I was telling you, kids are our best friends until a certain age. And then they start getting new friends.
And they replace you.
Yes, and so I'm taking full advantage of that.
Please do, because everyone says it's a short period of time and if you don't take full advantage of it, it never comes back.
Exactly. So Lexi, who is my oldest, is already in grade school, so primary school.
Okay.
He's in grade 2. And my 5-year-old is in kindergarten still.
Oh, fantastic.
Yes.
Okay. So they're already mingling with other kids and already having experiences and sort of learning their own independence away from mommy.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
How does that make you feel, given that motherhood is a whole journey?
So, like 5,000 times a day, I wonder, am I doing the right thing? Am I leading them to the right path? But then whenever there are things they do or say, and I'm like, wow, I'm still winging it as a mom.
Yeah.
And they're also surrounded by amazing people. They have grandparents. The same caregivers I've had are the same for a long time.
Okay, that's
I'm
rare.
very intentional about
You're very
that.
blessed because that's the hardest part.
Exactly, because you see, when you're letting other people take care of your kids, you have to take care of them as well.
True.
So they become family.
Yeah.
And so other than that, there's a lot of a community around them, whether in school. I'm very active. I'm always checking in every once or twice a week in school. How are they doing? Is there any concern that needs to be raised? So yeah, it's just a whole every day. When I make it through the next one, I'm like, thank you, Lord.
Fantastic.
Give me wisdom for the next day.
Coming day.
Yes, and I'm also very intentional with parenting classes. I'm very lucky to have my kids in a school that conducts parenting classes very often, and I've learned a lot from it. They also do nanny caregiver lessons every term.
Okay.
I can say I'm very blessed. Yes.
Yeah, that's amazing, because I mean, these are the things we're keeping on challenging people on, and it's part of the conversation today, because when we talk about, and the official name is comprehensive sexuality education, and just talking the conversation of having it integrated into our school systems and having children access this information more readily from a younger age is being met by such pushback and such hostility by parents. And I think it's just the basics of why, understanding the why. What is the gap? What are you concerned about? Is it that you don't understand what CSE is? Is that what you're pushing back against? Is it that you've been told something? You know, because myths, we tend to thrive on myths. I don't know what that's about.
I don't know what that is.
I don't know what that's about, but it tends to be that my concern is it that it's coming from a point of lack of understanding? Or is it truly that parents don't see the need to talk to their children about their bodies, about, you know, a healthy sex life, having an understanding of their sexual and reproductive health, understanding mental health around, you know, your sexual and reproductive aspects of your life. So that's part of the conversation I'd like us to have. Given that you've mentioned there's a lot of community around them, do you feel that we are better placed now than we were before? Because now I'll just channel your childhood and your upbringing. And did you have that experience of, were your parents open? Was the community around you open enough to have these conversations with you? Or did you wing it and learn from peers and the, you know, internet and movies and stuff like that?
Wow, that's a very good question. Because, well, when I look at my childhood, I wonder how I survived that to this day. I'm like, wow. Oh, I guess God had angels around me. I can tell you, nobody gave me any education about sex education, about consent, about what was right or wrong. If I remember, I grew up with a lot of cousins, and I did witness a few things that I'm looking back and I'm like, wow. To me, they looked normal, but in looking back, there was absolutely something wrong with that. Thank God, on a personal level, I was very lucky. Nobody assaulted me. No one took advantage of me. Until I was a teenager, and I was like now curious. But then I also remember the first conversation, because we can't also differentiate or set aside menstrual health and that with sex. And I remember when I had my first period and I told my mom, and she was like, do you know what that means? Don't ever be near a boy. You'll be pregnant. So that's the least I could get. And of course, at some point, I became a rebellious teenager, and I'll disappear for a day or two. And I remember my mom literally grabbing me and taking me to a hospital to have like, the
An
doctors,
exam.
exam if there's something that has
terrible.
happened to me.
Yeah.
So that's the only memory I remember. It was horrible. But of course, later on, being an adult, I was able to make some informed decisions to date. But I feel like, yes, now things have changed. But I'm going to speak for myself because of the way I'm raising my kids. Did I know how to do it? No.
Yeah.
In fact, what brought now my conscious, okay, by the way, Maureen, you need to have this conversation with this kid was once, I have a legal background and I used to attend court for several months. And some of the cases were about sexual assaults on kids, on children, and some were gruesome. You know how it is. You're in the industry. It was so bad. And a child would go on camera to testify, and he would say, he touched my doo-doo, or he touched my pee-pee, something.
Yeah.
And you
Some
say
nickname for a body part.
There's a nickname, And in reality, the law does not recognize these words.
That's so
yeah. So a lot of culprits would get away with it. And I made a conscious decision. I said, the day I'll have my kids, I will tell them exactly what their body parts are.
Yeah.
And so having now a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old, we started as soon as I felt they could understand. Of course, sometimes we leave them under the care of our nannies for showering, changing their clothes. Living with boys is also very interesting.
It must be high energy in that home.
Well, let me tell you, there are times I probably walk in on one of them and he's fondling his parts and
he's young,
he's like, he's
learning his body.
And nobody prepared me for that.
Right.
And I'm like, what are you doing? I said, I'm just checking if it's okay. Sometimes it's big and sometimes it's more.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
No one prepares you.
No one prepares you for anything like that.
In fact, my mission from here on, I need to talk to some male figures in my life to explain to me how I can handle that. You see, now I don't know that.
Yeah, exactly.
However, coming back to matters of consent and body parts, I started as probably when my oldest was around 3.
Okay.
And I would tell him, this body part is called a penis.
Yeah.
This body part is called a nipple. These are your buttocks. And this is, everything.
Give it its proper name.
Exactly.
Because that's what it is.
Exactly.
You should have a word that describes exactly what we're talking about.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And so I would tell them constantly, like, nobody should touch that. Even when auntie's washing you, try wash it.
Yeah.
Of course, occasionally I'll set in and come and just show them how to clean up.
Yeah.
And I'll tell them no one even, and we miss out on a lot. We forget these other sexual assaults.
Yes.
The mouth.
Yeah.
And I'll say no one should ever touch your mouth, especially with their penis or like that.
Yeah.
And at first they would laugh because the names
like,
are so
what?
funny. Like, what is a penis? What is a nipple?
Yeah, what is that?
And then also being a mom, there are times kids follow you everywhere. So sometimes I'd find myself maybe in my room. I've come out of the shower. You find someone standing there. And I'm like, oh my goodness, dude, I need privacy.
Yeah.
And constant reminder. And now they know.
Yeah.
Even when they come, they'll knock and they say, Mommy, can I enter or do you need privacy?
That's fantastic.
And they've learned that.
Yeah.
Even now at 5 and 7, my 7-year-old is able to shower himself. He's able to dress himself.
Yeah.
He has his things and he knows. But I'm so intentional about reminding them nobody should touch. And if they do, this is what you do. You either scream, kick, bite, but you have to tell somebody.
Yeah.
And we have people we trust.
Yeah.
We say you have to tell teacher so-and-so. You have to tell your mommy.
Yeah.
You have to tell auntie. Don't be afraid, no matter what.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's unfortunate. And we've had stories
Exactly,
where
yeah,
kids will be assaulted. They think it's normal.
Yeah.
They
And
don't say
unfortunately,
anything.
usually by people they know.
Exactly.
So then it's even more normal.
Exactly.
Because if auntie has been the one who showers me,
Yes.
even if she does something weird,
Yes.
I don't recognize it as abnormal.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's the gaps that we allow for predators to take advantage of our children. Yeah.
So even when you see them, even when they get out of the shower, you'll see they cover up, they run, wipe themselves, and if you enter, they say, "Hey, mommy," they will cover. Even when my son, kids, boys love, I don't know, for some reason, walking around naked. Yeah,
Yep.
so you see he'll cover,
right,
and he'll move around
because
like
now he
that.
understands privacy.
Yes,
he understands that you're the one who's walking in. You shouldn't be seeing what you're seeing. I don't give consent for this.
Exactly. Is it a one-day job? No, and it's about age and also how they're understanding. Thankfully, also, I was having the same conversation with the school, and I was especially with Lexi, who is in grade 2, and I asked them, how are you guys doing when it comes to this? Because these kids are talking.
Yeah.
They're having conversations.
They're having, now with all sorts of social media platforms, they have access. They have access to misinformation as well as information.
Right?
Yeah.
And the teacher really encouraged me and told me, oh, by the way, there is even a way we hug. For girls, the girls hug on the side. Like, they don't hug.
Yeah.
There's a way they are allowed to hug from the side. For boys, you also have to ask them, can I hug you?
Yeah.
And there's a way they'll hug you.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing to know that things are changing and they're turning. I've seen parents who are resisting. Because like the last time I had PTA, there's a form we were signing, and the form was, should we teach sexual education?
Right, yes.
Or should we leave it to the parents or leave it out altogether? But where I'm seated, I would say, please, 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 as a parent, start with your child so that you can lead the narrative, because somehow whatever they don't learn from home, they'll learn it from outside.
Exactly.
It will be that neighbor's kid. You know how we used to be when we were kids. Cha mama na cha baba hapo nyuma. It just takes that one mistake. And then before you know it, someone is coming to ask you, why is so and so happening? Why were they touching each other? But you should be ready for these answers. But then if you equip them, I think it's easier for them now to first, for me, consent. I usually say, do not ever let anybody touch you. Do not let anyone touch this particular part of the body. And if they do, this is what's going to happen. And it's constant. Every other week, I'm always having a meeting with them.
Okay.
In fact, let me tell you how amazing it is. There's a time I like wearing a gown and in the slip dress, and sometimes accidents happen, and there's a time I had a slip, and my son came and said, "Mommy," in fact he didn't even talk to me, he just moved it and covered me, and he said, "Mommy, sorry, you had an accident." Oh man, I was like, this is so also amazing.
Teach us your ways, because I mean that's a powerful moment right there, because he fully understands this should not be showing. This is a private part of mommy's body. And not just that, we should help her cover. She may not be aware. There's no shame in this situation. It's an accident.
Exactly.
That is such a beautiful moment.
Wow. So those are the moments I was telling you, I when I'm questioning myself, I'm like, wow, I'm doing it right. Then I also now I'm already starting the conversation on also taking care of the other gender.
Right.
Because my 7-year-old, in another 2 years, will have classmates maybe who are having their menstruation. And I'm always constantly telling them, if you ever see a girl having an accident, cover them.
Right.
Or you can tell teacher, or you go and whisper to them. And I'm like, imagine we have to have this conversation.
You really do, because how else will they know? That's the question that we have. And like you've mentioned, parents tend to be very against the idea of having any sort of sex education. If you remember growing up, the most we had was a very weird class. where girls and boys were separated, and then we were shown diseased body parts that I still haven't recovered from. And I'm a medical
and you're
doctor.
a medical doctor. Yes.
And we sat there and had the fear of God instilled in us about our bodies.
Yes.
So I'm not surprised in my practice now. When I meet women, grown women, we have lots of good conversations, but they can't even name their body parts.
No.
They're too embarrassed or ashamed. Even the conversation that have come in because there's a problem, even explaining the problem. No, doctor, you'll see, and then you'll tell me if it's okay.
Yeah.
And that's it. And I'm like, okay, but explain to me the problem.
Exactly.
People are so embarrassed by their own body parts, by even naming, this is my vagina, this is vulva. Like, I'm sitting with you in your 30s, in your 40s, and that's the conversation. Like, but the difference between vagina and vulva is this. Because nobody else gave us that information. And it's so unfortunate, right?
I know.
So when something happens, how do I describe what has happened?
Exactly.
If I can't even put a name to the section it has happened to.
How we treating it.
So I love that that's your approach. I love that you're very open-minded about it. And I'm hopeful that anybody listening in would actually be confident and comfortable themselves to be, okay, I should really not have any shame. And just to inform that there's information and there's resources available. Exactly. If you don't know how to, ask. Come in, talk to your doctor, talk to even your GP, and they'll be able to direct you where to go.
Exactly.
There are resources that you can find out. Parenting, like you said, parenting classes, if those can be integrated, already that's a good place. Because the key thing about CSE is we first have to educate the parents.
Yes.
Because we weren't educated.
Very true.
So how on earth am I then going to educate anyone else, let alone my child? And in an age-appropriate way, especially.
Exactly.
Because I think, from my understanding, the fear has been with parents that you people are trying to teach my child how to have sex from a very early age. You're trying to make them promiscuous. You're trying to make them ungovernable citizens. You want them to just be able to do whatever they want. Like, then you don't know what CSE is. Exactly. You don't have an understanding of what sex education actually is. And like you said, it starts with a simple bits of, let's name the body parts appropriately. Number 2, body autonomy. If I don't want to be touched, I don't get touched.
Exactly.
If I don't want to hug so-and-so, if I don't want to kiss auntie so-and-so, it's my decision to make. I shouldn't be debating or discussing. I shouldn't be shamed for it. Nobody should make me feel like, oh no, go ahead and hug her. Why, right? And then it moves on to social aspects. As much as I have consent for myself, I need consent to touch you.
Exactly.
I need consent to do anything on anyone else's person. And that's the conversation you need to have with especially younger kids. Then we now graduate to what is your sexual health? What is reproduction? Where do babies come from? How can we be safe? When you're ready, when you're in a situation where you feel I'm ready to engage with somebody else, how do I go about it?
Exactly.
Knowing that I fully understand body autonomy and consent. And I feel like if we could understand it from that aspect, already the sins we see now, the things that we are trying to fight against, the way you're trying to protect and cocoon your kids, you've already taken that away, because now you have people who, unless you're actually a criminal, you're not going to go about harassing people in the office, slapping people on the bum. I mean, in an office space. And it does happen. These are things that we know.
Imagine.
But who would have taught them?
No one. They don't know. Actually, they do it out of ignorance.
Exactly. It's just, okay, I have an impulse, I have an instinct, I'm going to go ahead and do it. And yet, that's proper harassment. So I love that you're open-minded, and I hope it encourages other parents as well to start to explore and understand what we mean when you're talking about comprehensive sex education. And it's not, nobody's sitting down trying to teach you.
No.
I promise you, the way you're imagining we're sitting with Kama Sutra and we're explaining position, imagine that's not what it is. Because I feel like, is that what we're envisioning? That's not what it is.
That's what's happening. It's the whole, what are they teaching?
Exactly.
Sit down and ask yourself, okay, when the curriculum is asking, hey, can we teach kids about sexual education? It's about those small things.
Exactly.
Body anatomy, consent, how to do in case you know they're not feeling right.
What is normal and what is not normal.
Also stigma, because people think, probably I'll use an example of UTI. They think it's a sexually transmitted, and it can happen to anyone.
Insane, right?
Even kids get it. But now, if your kid has UTI, and you're castigating them and losing your mind, you're not wondering, what went wrong?
What went wrong? Is this a hygiene thing? It doesn't even occur to you that this could be a hygiene thing.
Exactly.
It's already a sexual thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Treat it.
Yeah.
Move on. When your boy has a few issues here and there, go see a urologist.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's
Have
start
the
early.
conversation, because it might not even be a hygiene thing. We can, especially with younger children, it could be anatomic. There could be a malformation.
Exactly.
And that's the first way it presents itself, that we have repeated infections. And so this is a child who actually needs medical attention. But you're sitting them down and beating them for allowing someone to touch them, or for engaging in bad manners, because that's how it used to be said. I don't know if it's still being said like that.
It is, unfortunately.
So there's a lot of positive, and it takes away, like you said, it takes away shame and stigma, which is the primary thing we need to address, because like I look after women, because my job is women's health.
Yes.
And the shame they have around their bodies, like we have to whisper, don't say that loudly. I'm even embarrassed, in fact terrified that I have to be here because I'm here because things are so bad. I've sat with this for so long because I'm so embarrassed about it. And yet, when I tell you what the treatment is or what the condition is,
it's so like, simple.
Why were we suffering for a month? What was going on in my mind? So it's destigmatizing things that should be considered normal. It's a normal part of being a human being as well. So I love that you're open-minded about it. From your experiences so far, you've told us an amazing win. Have you had any challenges when it comes to talking to your boys about, again, themselves, and any, maybe not even present challenges, but like fears and worries when it comes to, okay, there's some things, am I capable? Am I the person to talk to them about these?
Every day, because they're growing older. I think also hearing the horror stories from parents with kids the same age as mine. Maybe a parent walks in and a child is practicing something or watching something that's not supposed to happen. That terrifies me so much. Thankfully, it hasn't happened. In fact, even when they have access to, say, media, I've done my part. I have blocked everything there is to block. However, it's not like I block them without them knowing why I'm doing it. Sometimes I tell them there are things you watch and they're not good for your mind. They're going to corrupt your mind. And they're not good. But there are also other good things you can watch that are educative and can happen. Well, I think for me it's more of fears. Again, when they're not with me, who are they
who
interacting with? Then again, I have that faith and courage, knowing that I've taught them, and I remind them every day not to let anybody do anything to them. And of course, I'm not looking forward to now the other years when they're telling me I have
things are changing.
Things are changing. I have a girlfriend. My 5-year-old is very cheeky. He tells me, I have 7 girlfriends, mommy.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, oh, God forbid. You don't know what you're talking about. You do not know what you're talking about. But then I'm like, in reality, the day they start knocking at my doorstep and saying, hey, no. So those are the things I worry about. Honestly, I still don't feel equipped enough to be able to guide them. At this point is where you say it's prayers and hope, and hoping that the community is going to guide them well. But I think it's more about approaching it from a very open mind, from a very educative place, because there's also that human nature when you're told don't do it, that is bad. You want to do it. You want to find out why is this bad. Why does mommy tell me this is bad? Let me go and figure it out. You know. And then later on we talk about safe sex. Also there's this thing where parents are really ignorant, and I'm saying this with love and of course a point of wanting to educate even on your platform, especially with vaccinations. You see, like the HPV, they think it's just HPV is for sexually active girls, but they don't understand how important that vaccine is at that age 9. I'm like, I can't wait. When they're 9, they're going for the, and it prevents so many issues later. town,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah.
So I think at this point, it's one step at a time. Hopefully hoping that the people around me are also going to support me, and so that they can be responsible.
Right.
My wish is for them to be 35, and that's when they're telling me they're getting married to their first girlfriends, and then I can become grandma.
I mean, we'll
but
join
I know
you in hoping, but we know reality.
But we know the reality is very different.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, these kids are engaging in these activities at a very young age.
Very young
we
now,
really have to talk about responsibility.
True.
We have to talk about birth control. We have to talk about safe everything.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I guess things will change. It's the same way right now. We're teaching them how to fuel the cars in the gas station, and then they're telling you, "Mommy, in 10 years we won't be using this thing to be the electric." Yeah. So I guess it's one day at a time.
One day at a time.
One day at a time.
But since you mentioned community so heavily,
yes,
is there anything you'd like to see, especially so in the school systems, in our leadership, in church? Is there any support you would like to receive that you would actually want to plug into so that they help you? Like you said, it takes a community, it takes a village. So is there anything specific you'd actually want to see us starting to implement?
Oh, absolutely. Please, let's not separate the boys from the girls. Let them be together. When we're taking care of our girls and showing them, giving them pads and giving them all these goodies, let's take care of our boys as well. Let's show them hygiene. Let's show them consent. Let's give them, that underwear, their boxer, their first boxer. They can say, "This is mine." The deodorant, something to comb their hair. I usually say probably one of my dreams would be to have something specifically for teenage boys for their confidence. Because as girls,
care package.
As the girls, even by 9, you're seeing them slapping their lip gloss. But the dude is there, like he has no clue.
No idea, even personal hygiene.
No one he has zero.
Talked to him about it.
And how they escape. Someone goes to the shower, stays for 10 minutes,
and didn't touch
but they've
water.
not touched anything. Someone's peeping, and I'm like, it's for your own good.
Can you clean?
Wash in between everything. So it starts early, but I feel like we need to educate them together. Of course, at age appropriate. And of course, I wish more parents will hop in and let it start at home, so that whatever they're taught out there, they're also in a position to say, okay, I don't think that's what mommy said. I don't think that's what daddy said.
Exactly.
No, you can't tell me that. There should be that open communication.
They should be able to have a conversation and give their own feedback.
Yes.
Because they have been taught something.
Exactly.
And I just need a clarification. What you said is different from what mommy said.
Precisely.
How do I comprehend this information?
Thank you. Exactly that.
And do you think it's more empowering or problematic to teach your children from an early age? Do you think it exposes them? Because that's what most people will look at sex education as. It's now I'm exposing children to information they shouldn't have, and I'm exposing them to being more curious, and they're more likely to experiment. Or do you think it empowers them to be able to say, no, I'm not ready for this. Mommy told me X, Y, Z. Rather than if somebody showed them something that they shouldn't be looking at, of course, curiosity, they'll just look at it. But if mommy has said that is not something we look at, that's a different approach altogether. What's your opinion on that?
I think it's the most empowering thing to do, to educate them, again, at age appropriation. If I'm teaching my child who is 7 not to touch a girl, in an inappropriate way without consent, they already know. So that even when they see their buddies doing it, they'll tell them, "Hey, dude, you don't do that." And then along the way, one step at a time. Personally, well, again, cousins. I saw them watching things, but because somehow I knew it was wrong, I kind of held back. And I judged them very much. I was like, oh my God, can you imagine? They were watching that, because it was those days for CDs,
Oh, right.
Can you imagine? But then if I didn't know that, somehow I could pick my, I had very harsh aunties and like, you should never do that. Of course, it got to my head that way, but somehow I knew. So that by the time, even when they're getting exposed, because they will.
Yes.
That's how the world
That's
is.
how the world works.
One day they'll go for a sleepover.
Mm.
They'll be introduced to their first what, nini. But if they're equipped with the right decision making, I think it's very empowering. Because the truth is, we can't avoid this. It's going to happen. It happened with us.
Exactly, right?
You know, it happened with us.
There's no running away from reality.
There's no running away from reality. Why not talk about it? It's not about, we're not at now putting a movie. Okay, let's watch about 50 Shades of Grey. No.
Exactly. I mean, it's not about overexposing them for things that they're not appropriate to them.
It's the education.
Yes.
And
agreed.
It doesn't have to be complicated. Consent, consequences. Yeah. If you have unsafe sex, this is what's going to happen. You're going to get, you're either going to get pregnant, you're going to catch an STI, you're going to expose yourself to other things.
Yeah.
And it goes deeper and deeper.
Yeah.
And once they know that, they'll be responsible.
They'll behave themselves. They'll actually educate the ones around them. And it actually has a very positive trickle-down effect.
Exactly. Yeah.
You've mentioned something that I've really enjoyed hearing, and that's boys being taught about menstruation and menstrual health.
Yes.
And boys being taught about women's issues, girls being taught about the changes that happen with boys as well.
Yeah.
I think that's such an important point because a lot of men, grown men, have no idea what the menstrual cycle is, do not understand menstruation.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, in a lot of cultures, it's looked at as being a dirty time of your life. You're actually supposed to be handled in a very different, specific way.
Yeah.
And again, it comes from the ignorance of not having been taught any better.
Exactly.
So I do like that you brought that up because as part of the comprehensiveness of this type of education, it's don't separate them.
No.
Teach everybody about everything.
Yeah.
Why are you teaching me how I can carry a pregnancy and how I can get pregnant and the fact that I'm releasing eggs now, but not teaching the one who can impregnate me that that's how this works?
You can separate the two.
They have to go together.
Exactly.
Right?
Talking of which, so my bathroom is my bathroom, and of course I display everything. So there'll be my pads, there'll be my tampons, and my tampons are very colorful. So the boys will come in and be like, "Mommy, what's this?"
Yeah.
At first it used to be very awkward. And then one day my son asked, "Is this the thing that goes in the butt?" You know?
Oh gosh.
And now that's when I was like, "Oops, I've been cornered." Yeah. So I told him sometimes, a girl gets something that happens every month. And, there's some blood involved, and it doesn't mean they're sick. It happens. And hence you see this, you see this, and this is the colorful thing I use. But the kids are so awesome, especially at that age. They'll ask their question, you answer, they won't ask you anymore.
Yeah.
They're satisfied and they walk away.
That's true. Yeah. They walk away and they're happy.
Yeah.
And it's literally just the information they asked.
Exactly.
You don't need to over-explain. Don't think with your adult brain.
No.
Just explain the fact of what you've been asked. Yeah.
Exactly.
And leave it at that.
Yeah.
When he's ready for the next level, he'll
then
come and ask that question.
Exactly. Yeah. And so even now when he says it's like, I think you're because they're very colorful. It's like, you only have 2 remaining. He'll make a comment cute. And I'm like, yeah.
Thank you. Adding to shopping list.
I'll add to my shopping list. So It's not a shock anymore. Because even sometimes like when I'm unpacking the shopping will come to the kitchen and maybe my nanny will put the things I need to go to my room in a bag. Yeah. And he'll be curious. He'll go looking and he'll be like, okay, this one goes here.
Nice. And it's so simple.
Exactly.
It's so simple. And yet you've really empowered him. And it's later in life that he'll be able to look at this as a positive exchange and something positive he learned from his mom.
Exactly.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm hoping you're encouraging someone somewhere.
I really hope so because at this point, it's either us or nobody else.
True. Because we leave room for people to take advantage and that's the worst of it.
Exactly.
When it comes now to... You said there's some areas you feel like you're not yet equipped. You feel like you're not yet ready for those conversations.
Yes.
I'm going to have an expert come on board later who is going to answer some of the questions that you might also have.
Yes.
Just for the benefit of everyone.
Absolutely.
Is there anything specific you'd want me to ask her?
Yes.
Yes. On your behalf.
Yes. I think it's more of where do you start now when you know that part, especially when they hit adolescence. How do you package that conversation and make them trust you so much, such that if there's anything happening or they're having their girlfriends and the girls are having their boyfriends and vice versa, we're able to not scare them, but inform them well and the expectations.
Right.
Because I think that's the most scary thing.
Right.
Oh my God, just thinking of, oh my God, he looks so, they look so innocent. I'm like,
you can't
I
even
can't imagine.
Yeah, you don't even want to imagine.
I don't even
that.
want to imagine. That's my scariest thing.
Right. Okay.
Like I say, I'll cross the bridge that when I get there, but I'm so open to know that I can be able to learn and know what's going on.
What to do when the time comes. Because again, we're talking about age appropriate. So when the time comes, instead of feeling overwhelmed, maybe she can help us with a few tools that we can use to
that would be
have
so
those
nice.
conversations.
That would be so nice. And for both boys and girls, because I also have girls in my life. I'm the cool auntie to some, and sometimes I want to step in when they ask these questions. Whenever and also, what if they've gone in too deep? How do you pull them out of it so that they can be responsible and know that it's not a bad thing. It's okay. It's part of the process. But how can they be safe? And be okay.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. And then it sounds like you're doing a great job with your sons. It's amazing to even contemplate that there are moms who are already proactively, despite not feeling very confident in as much information, you feel like maybe I need to learn, and you're taking the steps to learn how to address these topics. It's a beautiful thing to see that you are actually taking the steps and saying, listen, I'm going to have the conversations I need to have when I need to have them. Do you face the challenge of the community around you? Because now that your sons are in school and they have other children around them, and not every parent has the same approach as you. And there might be limitations in terms of they feel like either you're over-teaching or you're overstepping, or your sons will encounter situations where they're with children who don't know as much, and in the process of trying to educate them, they're labeled as being the bad-mannered ones. How are you navigating that space?
Well, thankfully, it hasn't happened because that conversation is just between me and the boys at home. So it's our little conversation we have. And like I said, the way God created kids, they handle things as they are. So it's not like they're going to school to say, this and that. However, what I have noticed is that whenever my kids come to school, for parents of boys, they might understand this. You'll ask them, how was your day? Good. What did you learn? We just did math and theory. Did you eat? Yes. I've learned to navigate the questions.
To probe a bit more.
Yes. And I'll ask, hey, how was your day? Did anyone make you sad today? They'll say no. Did anyone make you happy today? Maybe they'll say yes, this and that happened. Okay, did anything interesting happen in between, like with your friends? Did you make new friends?
Right.
And there's a day my youngest said, can you imagine? That's how he talks. So and so touched my butt.
Oh wow!
And I think it was very innocent at that point. And so I asked him, "And what did you do?" And I told them to stop.
Nice.
Probably at least a 5-year-old. Probably it was so innocent, but he was able to communicate. However, I haven't had any instance where a parent is coming to say, "By the way, Maureen's kids are like this," because it's our very. In fact, the conversation is usually very short. It's just a reminder,
right?
So that even when they initiate it, like that time when my son is covering me, I had to tell him, "Oh, thank you, Papa. Thank you so much. If you ever see anybody else in such a situation, you can either tell your teacher or you can tell them, and that's okay.
And that's okay, and that's the end of that.
And it stops there.
Done.
So thankfully, we haven't had that of.
Okay.
Ati, the bad manners one.
Okay.
Thank God.
Thank
so
God
I guess
so
I'm
far.
doing something
Yeah,
right.
you must be doing it right.
Yes.
Yeah, keep up at it.
Yes, but I'll just encourage parents from as long as a child can conceptualize.
Yeah.
And I'm talking of even if, look out for signs. Because kids, I usually say, I worry, kids are wild. Like my sons fight like,
like
kittens, like they're trying to kill each other.
Yeah.
And I'm like, good. So whenever I see one of them going down, and those are the signs you have to look out for, find out, did something happen? And sometimes you say, I'm sad because of this and that.
Yeah.
But in terms of even sexual assault and all those things, that's how some of these signs come up.
Yeah.
The child shuts down.
Yeah, the behavior changes.
Yes, the child doesn't want to be touched or be close to another person. Or I've taught them, like my youngest has this thing. It's just his thing. He has to sit on your lap.
Okay.
And I've taught him, you can only sit on mommy's lap.
Yeah.
Or if maybe auntie's lap.
Yeah.
But then, he'll see uncle, so and so.
And he
goes and plants himself. So he's learned.
Yeah.
He's learned that.
Okay.
And he'll be like, and nowadays even ask, Mommy, can I sit on your lap? Or sometimes he'll it's like it's his place. It's his throne. He's happiest.
That's his happy place.
On the lap.
Yeah.
But you see, sometimes some of these people who harm children, it's again
an opportunity to take advantage of them.
But it's an opportunity because next time they'll come and all that.
Yeah.
Oh, this and that.
Yeah.
But I digressed. But it's just about age-appropriate conversations at that time. Keep repeating until you see their understanding. And I can see they understand. Because let me tell you, that shower, the way they live, so you have to have their towels right there.
Yeah.
So that when they're out of the shower,
they're
out. Then they cover up.
Yeah.
In fact, my youngest gets very annoyed. Like, Mommy, you haven't. I don't know how to cover myself.
Oh.
You have to come and wrap me. But he's holding his patia because he knows. And then you go. We've taught them how to, just apply the oil. The least I'll come and do is fix because the pants have been put backwards front here.
Exactly.
And they'll know.
Yeah.
Comb the hair. Life goes on.
Yeah.
And then... But it's scary. It's a scary world.
I know.
Yeah.
So, but just finally now,
yes.
Mommy of boys.
Yes.
What advice do you have?
Yes.
If at all any, for a mom who's starting out and she has concerns, but she also from a point of knowing that she didn't learn as much as she could have, or maybe she was in a situation where her parents were a bit more open, but she didn't know how to talk to them because it's two ways. It takes both ways.
Absolutely.
What would you advise young moms out there who are trying to do right by their children in terms of having these conversations around their bodies, around autonomy, around sexuality, sex, and just their health in general when it comes to sexual, reproductive, and mental health, because they tend to go hand in hand.
Absolutely.
What advice do you think you'd have for mommies?
Wow, that's a very good question. Your babies are your best friends. And like when we started this topic, we said the first 10 years, you're their favorite person. Don't ignore them. Anytime they come and tell you, Mommy, see what I can do. And you know how kids can be so silly. And I say silly with all the love. He or she will do something and you're like, that's why you were calling me. But please indulge. Take full advantage. Listen to them so that they know they have a safe space in you. Then let us not forget, boys and girls are equally assaulted. In fact, it's so sad because a lot of boys don't talk about it. And I'm not even just talking about small boys, even older men. They're assaulted, but they don't want to talk about it because of the stigma. It's unfortunate, but it can happen to anyone. But if you start early enough having these conversations, you don't have to know everything, but let them know that they can count on you. Just remind them, should anybody, do anything, just come to me. Don't be afraid of telling mommy.
Talk to me.
Because the first thing these people do is, if you tell your mom, if you tell anybody,
it becomes a secret bond.
Exactly.
This is our little secret.
Yes.
Nobody else needs to know.
Yes.
And that's the worst because children will take that seriously.
Children take it very serious. Teach them, no matter what, you and I don't have secrets. Anything that happens to you, you come and tell me.
Right.
And then that ukali, we need to just simmer down as parents. We brought these kids to the world. Have that friendship in as much as it's a balance about discipline and teaching them and creating boundaries. Let them know that they can count on you 100%.
Fantastic. I love that. This has been a wonderful conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your insights. I feel empowered to empower people. Like, that's how good you've made me feel.
This
So
is so
hopefully
amazing.
those who are
Yes.
listening in, or the audience that we have, I hope they
Yes.
also feel
Yes.
that they feel a bit more confident.
Yeah.
At the very least, I know I don't know. Let me learn more.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm hoping for.
Exactly.
Even if you don't have a full 360, at least you now understand, yes, there are resources. I'm not abnormal for wanting better for my children. It's conversations that moms are having already. Step up also, we have these conversations with dads. I actually would like to challenge people. If anyone would like to have a conversation with me, dads out there, I would be very happy to host you so that we can have this conversation around how you are playing the role for your children. And are you having the conversations with them, or are you leaving all this responsibility to moms?
Yes.
Are we leaving the responsibility to strangers? Are we saying this is going to be done in school? This is going to be done in church? It's not something that I'm responsible for.
Yes.
Just so as we're winding up, I'd like to encourage the audience and the listeners, wherever you are, the platforms. If you're watching us on YouTube, I'll have tagged everything, all our pages, all our handles, so that you can continue this conversation on social media as well. Feel free to comment, leave a question, leave a comment. Let us know how you are handling the situation for yourselves. How are you raising your babies? How are you approaching these delicate topics with them? And then we can continue on to have this conversation.
Absolutely.
And like I said, we'll have an episode with an expert. So please send in questions so that I can have her address this as comprehensively as possible.
Yeah. Oh, let me just add to my question. How early do we need to start having our kids see a gynecologist or an urologist? Yes, you can add that in my question.
I'll have that. I have an answer
Okay.
as the medical expert, but I will definitely make sure we discuss that.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Dr. Claire. This is
guys
so amazing.
for tuning in. Thank you, and we will see you on the next episode.
Okay, bye-bye.